Hey guys, JHoyt here. Before this video gets started, we've been reminding you guys for the longest time now. The vast majority of you guys are not even subscribed. So if you're enjoying my content, you're watching my videos, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload. And don't forget, you can always change your mind later. But after getting a pair of upgrades for our team here in our franchise mode, we're going to be making a few more trades. Fucking Trent Man or Ted Man or fucking Troy Man or whatever the your name is keeps getting injured. What's on, guys? JHoyt back with you today. Welcome back to episode number 21 of our franchise mode with the Detroit Red Wings. So like I said in the intro, we got a pair of upgrades in last episode, and that hasn't really helped our team much. Now maybe that's better for the long term, but at least for the short term, we sit in a very weird spot, right? When we go over to the standings here, we have 41 games played through the year. We're halfway done, and then 41 points. So, point per game, but of course, if you look at our record, 19, 19, and 3. You know, technically we sit in a playoff spot, I believe, or very close to it, but we need to win more than we're losing, because this whole last second, down to the last couple of games, down to all that needs to stop, right? We've had so many upgrades to this team that we should be a lot better than what we are. So we have a kind of a tough decision to make, right? Let's go show you exactly what I mean on our screen here. So we're talking about our goaltender, right? LUUKKONEN, right? We got him, a few years ago now, I think. And he just hasn't worked out for us, right? Yeah, we've had him for, is this 5 years? 4 years? And realistically, he hasn't had a good year for us, right? I mean, we got him 2-10 overall. Or not overall, I should say, for that year. Next year, we put him down the AHL to start because he just didn't perform well in the preseason. He comes up that year, gets sent down. Or I think he started the NHL first, then got sent down. But didn't really perform. Next year, he goes, positive as far as wins and losses go, but still not the greatest in numbers. And then this year, once again, he is struggling with, I think, what would be close to his worst year yet. So we have a decision to make, right? We have him under contract right now, but we have him at a great deal at $1.5 million for the rest of this year, I should say. He's a pending UFA, and we don't have an extension on because he wants like $6 million. Now, realistically, I don't want to offer him that at all. And do I want to re-sign him? Not really, right? I mean, let's just say 4 or 5 years at a goaltender, you kind of get the feel of what that goaltender is going to bring you, right? We've had massive upgrades to this team and still no improvement. So we got to do something with LUUKKONEN. What it's going to be, I mean, probably for the rest of this year, I might just write it out with Dostal and bring up Bednar, and then try to get a prospect goaltender for LUUKKONEN. But I don't know. I mean, maybe we just try to find a new goaltender next offseason, because obviously all the good goaltenders this year that are performing really well are all on teams that are doing really well. So I'm not going to try to trade for a goaltender, from a team that's, really high in the standings. That just doesn't make sense. But idea is we're going to try to get him for a prospect goaltender, move on from LUUKKONEN, probably find something else in this offseason, depending on how Dostal and Bednar do. And then we also have some future things here that we're making a trade for. So let's go get into that first trade first. So our first trade is on your screen. Now what this trade is basically 2 prospects for another prospect and a pick. So Mathieu, he's a good overall, but just doesn't really fit in our scheme. So, and he's already 23 years old, so he doesn't really have much growing left. And especially given our right-hand defenseman up in the NHL, he's probably not going to have a job anytime soon unless we make trades. So he's going to be going in this trade along with a right wing that we're not going to sign just because he's really slow. And yeah, just not going to sign him. So we're going to be trading those two guys away to Anaheim for a 79 overall, 19-year-old right-hand defenseman, a defensive defenseman, former first-round draft pick of Vancouver, actually. So that's interesting. But then we're also going to try to get a second-round pick in this one. It doesn't look like it's going to through, just given the trade value at the bottom. But we're going to try to get a couple of picks in this one. But getting a right-hand defenseman, his trade value actually isn't as much as you probably think. So when you go down and look at one of the one of the defensemen that they have, Lovejoy there, he's got tons of trade value, but Glenn Cross here does not. So that's why we were initially attracted to him. So let's go see if this works, and it doesn't. So let's try to get a couple of thirds. So the final trade of this will be Mathieu Akers and a sixth for Glenn Cross and a third. They wanted to sweeten it just a little bit, and it works. So although it doesn't really look like a big trade, I'm hoping that he's big long term. So our final trade is going to be LUUKKONEN Berg, who's an unsigned prospect that we're just not going to sign, and a third round draft pick from this year over to the St. Louis Blues for their top goaltending prospect, ZANETTI, and a fifth round draft pick from this year, and they've already said they're going to do it. So let's just continue this through. So although it's a big, huge risk, I mean, anything to do with goaltenders is a risk, but we gotta do what's best for our team here. Let's bring up Bednar, right? He's been really good in the AHL. Dosel's been really good as our backup and in the AHL, and it's time to give these guys a shot for the rest of the year. Just going to this offseason, maybe we'll try to get someone different and sign a top, goaltender, but at least for now, we're not going to do that. We're going to stick with what's working, sort of, that isn't LUUKKONEN, and we'll move on to the rest of the year. So our third trade we're not going to do just because after thinking about it, doesn't really make sense. So we're going to continue on, get to the trade deadline, see if we need to make any moves between now and then, and see how our season goes from here. Let's hope these changes are going to help our squad, because if not, I don't really know how to help this squad, because we've added onto our forward group, we've added better defensemen, we've changed around strategies, we've changed around lines, and overall, I have no idea what else to do to this squad. So maybe it's just hopefully we find the right group of people that will bring us home the wins, but for now, we'll keep this going. Looks to be a pretty good improvement so far. Hopefully, I don't end up jinxing it here, but we're bringing in the wins right now, putting us up to 4th place in our division, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. Up to 30 wins. Loss against Ottawa, that's okay, though. Where we sit, 64 points, a couple points out of the next couple of spots above us, so whatever we did is working. So let's ride this out. I think I stopped it on the 22nd after the Islanders game, and I did here. So let's go past the Ottawa game, and hopefully we'll win that one. Then we'll kind of see where we're at for the rest of this year. So 69 points so far, so a decent improvement from where we were. But the good news is, I guess we're still in a decent spot. We're not in a good spot, but we're in a decent spot, right? We're 2 points out of 4th place. We're, 5 points out of 3rd. And then if you want to get technical, we're then, 9 points, whatever, away from 2nd place. And then 11 points out of 1st, or 12 points out of 1st. So we're within striking distance of the playoffs. We've done huge improvements since the last time we saw us, right? We're sitting at 41 games played and 41 points. So after we made all the trades and we put everyone back in the lineup, we also swapped up the lines. So let's go see what those guys are doing since then. So I've actually lost track of who's on what line, but we moved right up to the first line. We've moved Barron up to the first line, along with, I think, Zadina's up there. We dropped Larkin down. Lindholm's still on the 3rd line. Raymond we dropped down to the 3rd line. Norris is our 4th line centerman. Kachuk is on our 4th line. Tuck's on our 4th line. And then, of course, the couple of guys that we just got into the squad. Marchessault and Stamkos. Marchessault a little disappointing, but Velarde obviously hasn't played in a while, so maybe we'll bring him in for Marchessault if he's not really performing too well. But defensively, Hannafin, though, still our top guy right now. Lindholm second. We move Ekblad back up to the first. Mann's back down on our second. And Wollander and Myers seem to be performing pretty well on their way. So what do we got from Dostal? So he stepped up, right? I mean, obviously he's been a big part of our backup goaltender, and especially in the AHL. Obviously, Bednar, I'd like a little bit better stats out of that, but he's only played 2 games, and he's allowed a lot of goals, though, so that's not really the greatest of things to see. So hopefully improvement from there, but Dostal is going to be our guy going forward here. Zanetti, since he's been with us, how has he done? 9-7, so not really the greatest of numbers. We did put in our prospect goaltender over Wolf just to get him some playing time. Let's take a quick look, I guess, through these guys. Glenn Cross performance still pretty good. Who else? No one's really overperforming down here that we could actually bring up. I mean, Niederbach is close, but still, we don't really have a spot for him anyway. So, what do we need? What could we improve on going forward? I mean, do we try to add a backup goaltender just in case? I mean, we're gonna be turning injuries on, so we'll have to get a goaltender anyway. But let's go see what we need to do and then get on with the rest of the year. So our first acquisition at this year's deadline, although it's not going to be in the official trade deadline screen because it usually bugs out and screws up all my lines. Our first trade is going to be trading away Gabe Vilardi over to the Minnesota Wild for Brian Little. Now, the main reason for this trade is Vilardi, I guess, doesn't really fit on our penalty killing lines. Plus, he's been out of the lineup for a while. So we're going to be trading him over to Minnesota for Brian Little, like I said, who is similar overall to him. He's playing in the AHL, right? He's not nearly, doing that well, obviously, in the NHL because they suck right now. But he does apparently fit on our fourth line and an all-penalty-killing line. So this should go through straightforward. We might have to throw on a really late pick, but it goes through first try. So let's get him in the lineup and go see what else we can get. So our next trade is probably going to help both our AHL team and our NHL team more. But we're going to go getting some goaltending depth over with the St. Louis Blues in Braden Holtby. Now, I don't know why they have him in the AHL, but he's 10-1 this year in the AHL. So maybe it was because he was struggling up with the NHL. I'm not sure. But either way, I mean, he's coming off some big years, so I don't know why they would even think about putting him in the AHL. But hey, we're going to go get him, right? He's got 1 year left at $1.8 million, and we're going to be trading away a trio of prospects that we're not going to sign. So let's go see if this trade goes through, and it goes through. Perfect. So we get some goaltending depth, and it might put us close to the cap, but I'm hoping it will all help in the long run. And I think that's going to be it for the trade deadline this year. I mean, unless we find something great, then we'll go see what it is. But if not, we'll see you guys on the other side preparing for the playoff push. So our next trade is going to be for some defensive depth. Not really depth, but to get a big upgrade on our defensive core. So we're going to be trading away Tyler Myers, Brady McNabb, and one of our prospects from the AHL in a good defensive prospect, but just doesn't really fit in with our team. So let's see if we can go do something anywhere else. So we'll be getting Adam Fox, David Savard, and some random other prospect in this one. We have both Fox and Savard both retained half of their salary, just given the time of the year that obviously we need to conserve some salary and see what's going to happen towards the playoffs. So will this go through? Will this go through? And it does. So all I had to do was add on a third round draft pick, and we get this one to go through. So once again, let's fix the lines, get into the rest of them, and I think that's going to be the last trade we make. So following the trade deadline, injuries are now on, right? We sit like same place, 69 points, 62 games played. And after looking at our home and away records, we've been doing great at home, but away is when we've been struggling. So Little is in the lineup, Holtby is our backup goaltender, and Fox is in defensive line 3. So Unfortunately, I think we're over the salary cap, so we're not going to be able to make any roster moves. We do have an extra forward, defenseman, and goaltender up here, though, so it's going to be a good one. I even almost had to send Marchessault down on waivers in order to get compliant with the cap. So, right, we need these wins early. Head coach, replace player. Right, we're not going to worry about the AHL right now. Our sole focus is on the AHL. Let's keep it going. We haven't had the best run of games recently. Best lines that get it through. 35 wins on the year, though. 76 points overall. We're making the push here to get away from those bottom two teams, and we're getting very close to the next couple. So I'm really hoping we can catch them very soon and see what happens here. They're at 79 points. We're sitting in a decent spot. So I may have some bad news, right? I was checking the standings just to see where we compare to the rest of our division and then the Metro division. And I was like, oh, it's kind of weird that the wild card hasn't popped up yet. Well, it's because both of their guys have it. So 89 points is the mark we need to reach. Now, yes, it is possible. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But we'll still play out the rest of the year as we hope that we'll make the playoffs. But that lead just might be too much to come back from at this point. This doesn't look likely for this year. I just think that other division is too strong they're up to 95 points. So yeah, even regardless of how we end this year, just not going to be our year this year. So we'll continue on, play out the rest of the year here. But it just doesn't look likely as we fought, right? We made a huge decision. Normally 85 points would be right on the edge, but 100 points to separate. Wow, that is a very closely contested division between their top five, right? And even if we won the rest of the games, we still have no chance. And we don't got it in the cards this year, that's for sure. But still, we got a lot to look forward to this off season. We have some big decisions to make. I think probably we'll make at least one huge trade. Just given, I think maybe Tkachuk might be on his way out. Just he doesn't fit with our team very well. I thought he would, and I thought he'd mesh a lot better, but he just hasn't performed. And he's got like 20 points or it's like mid-20s points, and just is significantly minus. So going to next year, although we might get a little bit worse, we might get a little bit better at the same time. So what did we finish the year at? So 87 points. Not horrible. I mean, we did have some upgrades from last year, but just the Metropolitan Division, too much to handle. 103 points, and we're still a good ways away from that. So tough to see, but hopefully going to next year, we'll have a big off season. We'll have, I keep saying every year, hopefully we'll figure out our goaltender situation, but most likely, our AHL team will watch these guys out. We'll turn off injuries, send the required guys down, and see how the rest of the year plays out. So we have our two champions from this year, the Stanley Cup champions being the Philadelphia Flyers, and the Calder Cup winners, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. We got eliminated, I think, in the second round this year. It was, not the greatest of performances from us, but, it's obviously only the AHL. We're mainly focused on the big club here, so we got a big offseason ahead of us as we're in for some big, massive changes, right? I mean, big blockbusting changes. So let's go a couple more days here, see if we can figure out what pick we have, and continue on here. Maybe we'll not know that until later on here. But so it looks like we're gonna have the 13th pick in this draft, a little later than I really wanted to. I'm really kind of surprised that we're that, low, I guess would be the right term. But we'll try to get the best prospect possible. And of course, if we're going to try to go for draft picks, we got a lot of players that are going to look for it. So that'll be in the next episode. You know, obviously we'll have retirements. We'll have all the off-season festivities upon us in the next one. But that's going to do it for today's video. A very disappointing season nonetheless. And I'm expecting so much more out of our team going into next year. But like I said, we'll have to wait to see what we do this offseason in the next episode. But if you guys did enjoy, hit that like button down below if you haven't yet. Or if you're brand new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button down there as well. Turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload. And don't forget, you can always change your mind later. But with all that being said, guys, we'll see you in the next one.
In the shadows.